A very good evening to everyone who has logged in. Uh, it's a very exciting day for us today where we have three very illustrious people joining us for a unique exchange. I think we have been having a lot of interactions under the CeRIMed banner. We have integrated wellness science and practice, the flagship program, which has been running its third season now, and it is in the sixth session we concluded today morning, and we had today also another version of integrated wellness science and practice called integrated wellness science and practice for life. And then the next session 7 is on Tuesday. Many of you who have joined in today are a part of that particular program. I think the passion with which CeRIMed is driving this concept of integrated wellness, integrated healthcare, integrated medicine concept, which is quite nascent, quite undeployed in India, but we do have some very shining stars, perhaps not coming from directly from the field of medicine, but today we have a very highly placed personality amongst us, and he happens to be I take the pleasure of introducing him. Before we take the session forward, I'll give it to Subratoda to just tell a couple of lines about CeRIMed as we go along. But let me just take the pleasure of introducing Professor Prabhat first. Professor Prabhat is Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil International University. He's a scientist, Chairman, National Steering Committee, and then if I have to sum up his CV, then he's a scientist with a great passion for healthcare and wellness. And that is the part which we are interested in today. Of course, we would like to hear from him his achievements, which has been quite a few, and he has been a researcher, he has been a enthusiast in wildlife, he has various interests, and I think it will be extremely exciting for us to hear from him all that he has achieved in this life. So and a lot of awards and achievements which I picked up from his CV. I've just enlisted here. We will be posting this particular conversation on our CeRIMed YouTube channel, so you can always have a look at that subsequently. Then we have Swami Dayadipananda. He is our CeRIMed team, and he is a doctor monk with a great passion for again integrated healthcare, and he heads the 200 bedded charitable hospital in Ramakrishna Mission Haridwar. And of course, being a monk from the Ramakrishna order, one of his biggest passion in life is man making and nation building. And along with it, he does carry a great passion if he can take his particular thinking to the masses. And he is also one of our leads in integrated wellness science and practice. He has been achieving quite a few milestones in his career, and he is particularly passionate about taking care of type 1 diabetes children, and which he has been doing very passionately for the last 10 years. And under his leadership, there is one support group which we operate under the CeRIMed brand called Diachamps India. And that is every last Sunday of the month we assemble from all over the country, people with type 1 diabetes, and some of the people who want to support them, they join, and caregivers, doctors, and we have a very good interaction with a lot of takeaways for the people who are afflicted and the people who are connected with this particular community. So then we have Dr. Sushil Sharma. He's a board certified consultant cardiologist and founder of Maryland Heart Associates. He's a cardiologist and again a very passionate integrated wellness practitioner. He is our strong pillar when it comes to the integrated wellness science and practice program, and he has been an amazing personally, when I have to speak about him, he is an amazing speaker. He is able to articulate very difficult concepts very lucidly, and which is very exciting for his listeners. And he has also had a very illustrious career in US, and having had his education from India and then in UK, and now he's there in US practicing. He's a cardiac surgeon for the last more than 3 decades now. and these are some of the honors and that experience what he has. So as I said earlier, that all these details will be there on our website and our YouTube channel. So without taking more time, I would like to stop sharing my screen. I would like to give it to Subrata. In case if you're there, would you like to speak 2 lines about CeRIMed before we take it forward? So I would like to hand it over to Swamiji. Swamiji, I think we can take it forward from here.
Namaskar, a warm welcome to all our esteemed participants who have joined today's CeRIMed talks. As already mentioned by Anirbanji, he is a dedicated team member of this great organization, NGO, which has the goal to do selfless service to humanity, CeRIMed, Center for Research in Integrated Medicine. Anirbanji has already mentioned how we have been learning. And we are really fortunate to have a person like Professor Prabhat Ranjanji, who has achieved a lot of things in his life. And what I've seen in him is his simplicity, having all the knowledge and leading a simple life and dedicated life. So such people, when they lead an institution as a vice chancellor of D.Y. Patil University in Pune, I have not visited there, but I believe definitely that university is unique. So we are really happy to have Prabhat Ranjanji with us to start the meeting, as we all are interested in knowing about wellness and we are all learning. Sri Ramakrishna says, Joto Bachi, Toto Siki. As long as I live, I do learn. So that is the purpose, sharing and learning. So extending my warm welcome to all our participants and our esteemed speaker today, Prabhat Ranjanji, and of course our co-facilitator Sushilji, who has been a passionate learner in wellness. So let me start the discussion. As we know, we're all keen in learning about integrated wellness. So now I have a question to Professor Prabhat Ranjanji. What integrated wellness means for you? Your views on integrated wellness, Prabhatji.
Okay, so as was mentioned, first, I'm not a medical personnel by any means. So my simple thought is that whatever can help a person or a patient should be done. So that's why I call it patient-centric approach. And does not matter what I as a doctor know, what is more important for the patient's point of view. So that is what I call it, if you call it integrated wellness or whatever term you use. Only look at the person's health requirement and wellness requirement, and that is the focus. I don't try to define it in any way.
That's a wonderful statement by you. It should be patient-centric, and it's really a message for everybody to think more and more on that. So we'll go deep into that. Sushilji, can you mention your views on integrated wellness? What does it mean for you?
Mute sound.
I have to unmute him. Yeah.
Welcome, Prabhatji, and thank you, Swamiji. So what I like about today's forum is unique. You bring in a different perspective from 2 points of view. Number one is, you said that beautifully, it's always known to wellness people what wellness means to them and how they define it. But at the end of the day, the recipient is the patient. So it should really be a patient-centric and recipient-centric approach. So that's one thing I like. The other thing I like is you being a scientist and an academician and a physicist. So I would really like to hear your views, how you define wellness from these 3 points of view, because that will really give us a unique opportunity to see from the point of view of physics, academia, and science, and as well as help us, because we really wish to take this wellness initiative of integrated wellness science and practice that we have started to expand it out, make it patient-centric, have some research orientation in it, and also find it a wider acceptance where we really combine uniquely. So our motto really is to bring in the cutting edge scientific information of wellness and blend it with the ancient wisdom of our rishis and yoga gurus, and then create an experience that we have experienced and then share with other people and take it to the masses. So I'm looking forward to a great discussion and insights from you from these angles. So welcome and enlighten us, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sushilji, for your introductory note. So now it's all over to Prabhat Ranjanji, because as I have learned in my previous discussion, so he has a vast experience, and he himself has been getting the benefits of integrated approach, integrated medical approach, and how wellness means. So I am sure he is a person who is interested in patient-centric approach, and I think he has also experienced himself, his relatives, and his friends who have got the benefits. So could you please explain me how you have been benefited by practicing integrated medicine for wellness? Prabhat.
Right. So just I'll take 1 minute to introduce the kind of thing I've been involved with, and not to go into in detail, but there's a set of talks I've given that are on YouTube. It's called My Journey to Brain. Actually, my research journey to brain started as astrophysics person working on universe and black hole. From there, I moved to the nuclear fusion. That's been my main area of research till for 20 years in US and India. And till 2002, I was full-time in National Labs. And luckily, I've come back into that in a very strong way this particular year, and maybe it's late 2020, as the first private initiative in India actually to achieve nuclear fusion for the country. Then I was working on India's moon mission. So I came from universe to sun to moon, and then to Earth, where I work on agriculture and wildlife, and then to human body, where I try to help people with disability by developing technology to people, for example, who could not move their hands or fingers, or other issues, could not speak. All of these are developed number of technology, assistive technology, to help people with such issues. And then eventually, due to a newspaper reporter making a wrong headline, where he mentioned that I was working on using gestures. So a person who cannot press the remote control button, for example, because they have restricted finger movement, I made a device so that using the gesture, they could control everything. And this was around about more than 10 years ago. He mentioned that I've developed it using thoughts. So in Hindi, he wrote, he should have written Isare, but he wrote Vicharo se chalne wali upkaran. So thought triggered equipment. And then I was a little unhappy at that time, but then I thought, why not? I can use this to develop a brain-based device which could control things. And I got into brain-computer interface. And around 2011-12, I was successful in doing that, where I could help people in locked-in condition in other states, where we could make them operate things like computers, then equipment in the house, light, fan, television, and so on. And I personally got involved, where I could see the changes that were happening in the life of a person very quickly. And I started to spend more and more of my time into this. But my life focus has been to solving problems. So typically a scientist or researcher, we worry about how many paper publications we have. But I always said that let me focus on the problem that needs to be solved. I may not know much about it, but I can learn today thanks to internet and other sources. It's easy to get information. And so I got into this area of helping people with assistive technology, and then into brain-computer interface. And I started to worry a little bit more about the brain aspect. And I thought that I could help children with learning disability. And that's where I came across the concept of neuroplasticity. So that was one of the entry point. And in 2012, I had a problem of gallstone, where I had a severe pain in the stomach. And as usual, the doctor suggested to do surgery and remove the gallbladder. And luckily, for some reason, that process was delayed. In the meantime, I was trying to search for a way to see if I can avoid that surgery and find a way to remove the stones without surgery. when I came across a book by a gentleman called Andreas Moritz, who is a German person. From age of 6, he had a lot of health problems. Finally, age of 21, he came to India to learn Ayurveda. And then he learned Ayurveda and solved his own health problems and devoted his whole life to this. He moved from Germany to US and spent almost 45 years. He wrote many books. And I came across some of those books. One of them is talking about cleansing of liver and gallbladder. And I was successful in doing that, in spite of medical fraternity, advising me against it. But thanks to internet, I could go through experience with other people and I practiced that. I use ultrasound to verify that this is actually gone out. And then I went through that book more carefully. It's actually Ayurveda's principle made it for Western audience. And many of the things that have been suggested in Ayurveda, actually, he has made it simplified for Western audience, and you could do it in home, use ingredients, like instead of using ghee, use olive oil and so on. So I went through that book very carefully. And then surprising things started to happen. I was helping a lot of people with disability. A lady I was trying to help, she had severe mental health problem. I'll not go into details today. It's there on my blog, ranjan.in, if somebody is interested. She had problems for 15 years. She had memory problems, suicidal tendency, insomnia, all kind of things. And surprisingly, in 2013, I did not know how this process will help her. I thought that it will help her in some way, maybe by losing weight or something like that. Surprisingly, her mental health problems disappeared the very first time she did it. And then she repeated that a few times. I'll not go into those details. I was very surprised. I still have in the blog, I thought it was a miracle. I thought it was a miracle because I didn't expect something like this to happen. And then, surprisingly, a person who was a researcher in medical science, Dr. Samir Brahmachari, was director general of CSIR, was talking to him, and he told me that this may be due to ammonia. And then I tried to understand what was going on, and then I understood that there is a role. Ammonia is produced in the body, and then it gets converted into urea, and the urea goes out through urine. But for some reason, if liver is not functioning well, then that ammonia level can go up, and by passing through blood-brain barrier, it can go into brain and play havoc with the brain. That is the understanding that I got from that comment. And so then I started to feel that whatever we are doing, there's a science behind it, that maybe we don't understand it. And then when I was able to help her, then I found that there were a lot of children I was working with already. Many of them have attention deficit hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, and other problems, various learning disabilities. I found that I could help them also in this process. And I came across the neuroplasticity. And through audio-visual stimulus, actually, we could influence the brain. And I found that I could help somebody with deep sleep. So, for example, one of my students, she had problem with depression. She missed my exam. That's why I came to know about her. And then I gave her a sound wave by which she started to get very good sleep, and she started to improve immediately. And then I found the same technique of neuroplasticity could be used to help children with learning disability and so on. So I kept learning and doing things which I felt would help people in whatever way. And without, I was not authorized to give any medicine. I don't have the knowledge. So of course I had to make sure that I don't get into that. And then slowly I was working on some of these things. I came across issues of gut, and we found that there are issues with intestinal permeability or impermeability, and then the whole concept of gut microbes. And when we were, so all of this was happening between 2012 and 2018. Somewhere around 2010, I also found that I have a skin problem, psoriasis, which I found that medical community could not help me in this process. I was very busy in Delhi. The problem started to worsen. I tried a few things, it didn't help. Then in Pune, moved to Pune as a founder vice chancellor of this university in 2018, end of April, first week of May. And sometime September 2018, I came across a protocol on internet. And there are a lot of such things there on internet. You have to judge which one is good, which one is bad. Sometimes people are trying to sell something. But I found this particular protocol, the authors of that protocol did not expect anything in return. And so somehow I trusted that, and I tried it out, and it was miraculous. And actually, this dependent on high-dose vitamin D3 and magnesium supplements. Both of these help in miraculously helping me by my skin condition. And then I shared it on, I wrote my blog on this, and I kept doing that. Normally, I was not talking about my skin condition. I used to cover my body parts with clothes so that it's not seen visibly. But then first time I opened up, thought that it will help others. And when I shared with people, I found that a lot of people with 25 years problem, and not only psoriasis, but other kind of problems also started to be helped with this. In parallel, I was involved with developing this document, Technology Vision 2035, which is a vision for the country with 12 roadmaps in different sectors, including education, healthcare, and so on. During these discussions also, as I was mentioning before we started the event, was that I put 10 grand challenges for the country. And the first one is guaranteeing nutritional security and eliminating female and child anemia. That I consider the first thing which affects more than 60–70% women are affected by anemia. 1/3 to 1/4 children are affected by anemia. And nutrition is a big issue. So, in fact, Government of India after that launched two missions called Anemia Mukt Bharat and Nutrition India. These are also available in form of apps that one can download and look at the progress of the country as we go along with these, and organize various discussions on these. So all of this helped me in making up my mind as to how we could approach a person's health. And what we have stated at some places is that we need to combine the modern medical science with our knowledge, ancient knowledge, traditional knowledge. And we felt that chronic health problems alternates are better to use as compared to modern medical science. In acute condition, modern medical science is the answer. So we need to combine these two together in an appropriate way. And in some sense, that would be my concept of integrated wellness, if you think. But as I said, that I always feel that if I'm a doctor, my knowledge is not important. What is important is for the person's health. And that's where my concept of patient-centric approach has come in. So that's the background. On that basis, I try to formulate 4 or 5 principles that I feel are important to look at. Each of these I want to be backed by science. So one of them is vitamin and mineral deficiency, which helped me, and I've seen many people being helped with this. And today, diagnostics have come in which can do these things very easily at lower cost, which was not possible 10 years, 15 years back. So vitamin and mineral deficiency is one of them. The second part is looking at the intestinal permeability. Either our guts can become leaky gut, as it is called popularly, or it can become through plaque formation, it can become impermeable. So even if I'm taking certain nutrients, it's not getting absorbed properly. The second is the whole concept of gut microbes, which seems to be very responsible for our both mental and physical health. Fourth one is the detox, the liver and gallbladder, the cleanse process that I did, which I would also call it as internal hygiene, where we need to make sure that our body organs are clean. In normal medical science, it is said that these are self-cleaning mechanisms, but probably our lifestyle, our diet, everything has undergone changes, and these organs also need help. And the fifth is neuroplasticity. So these 5 principles form my thing. I may come up with some other ideas as we discuss along, and maybe we'll add to this. But basically, looking at vitamin and mineral deficiencies, looking at gut permeability, looking at gut microbes, looking at the internal hygiene, and fifth is neuroplasticity. These 5 actually, I believe, are important. And I said that I might have missed out, but it also, I believe, would help in explaining many of traditional knowledge that we have been practicing on this platform. Like in Ayurveda, we are told that you should eat certain combination of food and you should not eat certain combination of food, and what time you should eat something, what time you should not eat something. All of this actually probably can be explained scientifically on this basis. So I will stop at this point and see what you have to say further.
That's wonderful. Based on your experience, what you're speaking really makes sense a lot for me as a monk and as a doctor, especially a person who is working on integrated wellness. I totally accept your experience on gut permeability and impermeability. I also accept your experience on the gut microbes and the nutritional deficiencies which are commonly seen can also be very well tackled. I'd like to know more about neuroplasticity, and I was so happy to learn from you how you have helped based on your own experience and your knowledge with your students and with your known friends who had some mental disorders. So that was very interesting to learn from you, and that's how our ancient wisdom, modern science, along with that logic, reasoning mind, which can make out what is right, what is wrong, and based on your experience. So when it is patient centric, he says what is good for him, what is not good for him. That's where in the medicine books it is taught. Patients are your greatest teachers. Patients are the greatest teacher for a medical student who is going to become a physician or surgeon. So our patients do teach us. As a student, as a treating doctor, we should be able to understand what patient feels in how I am making my patient comfortable. That was your message. That's wonderful, really. Now I would like to learn more about neuroplasticity from you. Also, I would also like to ask you, what are your suggestions to the healthcare providers and the patient's attendant? When we say health issue, there are three things. One is patient, then the patient's attendants, friends and relatives, and the treating doctor and the other assisting healthcare providers. So how important it is for all of these people to understand about integrated approach for wellness.
Right. So actually, as I said, that we need to combine our modern medical science, especially in acute conditions. We don't have a choice there. If somebody is met with an accident, he needs to be saved first. But wherever chronic health problems are there, it is important to realize that there are no quick solutions. So many times we think that we'll go to a doctor, he or she would give me a set of tablets and will be cured. That doesn't happen. So it actually involves a lot of changes in our lifestyle and many things. I'd also like to actually bring to your attention something here when we talk about vitamin and mineral deficiency, for example. What I found was that our focus in the India, for example, initially was that in 60s, we went through, in my parts of country in Eastern India, through a famine. And we were being supplied with wheat and milk powder from US. And that time, then we had so-called Green Revolution, where actually we started to focus on making sure that we have enough food to feed the mouths that we have. And then slowly we started to move towards calorie and protein intake requirement. But then somewhere down the line, I realized that intake is not sufficient. We need to also make sure that body absorbs those. So just intake is not sufficient. Two things have happened. So Swamiji, we missed you in between. So I was just talking about our focus improved over a period of time from trying to produce enough wheat and rice and so on to making sure that we have enough calorie and protein intake. But intake is not sufficient unless our body condition is such that it can absorb those nutrients properly. And two things I would like to point out. One that has happened is that, of course, our dietary preferences have changed. They may not be the best ones suitable for our condition. A very important thing that I came across was the fact that our agriculture field, the topsoil quality has deteriorated. So even if I'm taking the same food, which is suggested, it may not have the right kind of nutrients because finally it has to get the minerals, other things from the soil. And so our soil has been overexploited, and this is a cause of concern. Similarly, like we can see that our lifestyle in terms of, say, for example, vitamin D, we don't go out into sun as much. Many of the food that we had preferred traditionally have dropped out of our menu. For example, in my area of North Bihar, we used to have ragi, as it is called, marwa we used to call it. It was a dark food grain. Slowly, all the dark food grains disappeared from our pellets. we, in some sense, I call it that we became racist in food habits also. We start to prefer white things as compared to those which are darker color. And so all of these affected our both intake and our body condition if it is not able to absorb properly. So we have to look at this, starting from agriculture production to taking of food to our body absorption. All of these are very important for family members and the caregivers to realize that these are important part of this process. Our focus on avoiding sun is an important point, which has led to vitamin D deficiency. It's almost like epidemic, whatever term I want to use, rampant across the country. Where a sunshine country like India should not have had that. So I would only suggest one single thing, that let's not expect that we go to a doctor and chronic health problems can be solved like magic. It needs combined effort of medical professionals, the patient and the family members together to help in this process.
So thank you so much for emphasizing that we need to work together. The treating doctor is important. The patient and patient's attendant are also important. We need to understand the health issue and we need to find out the solutions right from the food that we eat, the quality of the food that we eat, and our way of living. So, Professor, it's very nice to learn your views based on your experience. Now, how do you think we can take this ahead? How do you think we should reach the society in a larger number? What are few ways that you can suggest so that we reach more and more people in an authenticated manner, so that this integrated approach for wellness reaches the mass?
Right. So in 2013, we have a school that my family members, my elder brother, sister-in-law, they run a school in Patna. My brother, Sri Vijay Prakash, is IAS officer. He retired in 2016, but he focused on child education throughout his life. And actually 2013, I think it was in June, I was working on brain and I wanted to help children to make sure that their learning potential is maximized. And when I realized that there are ways, things like, doing internal hygiene is helping in learning. So that lady who had mental health problem, suddenly she was not able to give exam for 15 years. Suddenly she started to learn and started to give exam and so on. She's written her own experience that I've shared in my blog. So I felt that each children, we must make sure that their learning potential can be maximized. And we had a 2-day workshop on this aspect. We called people from all different aspects. We had a yoga expert from Bihar School of Yoga, we had Ayurveda expert, nutritional expert, education expert. Everybody came together to discuss this for 2 days. And it was a very interesting discussion. And that's where we realized that we need to talk to each other. And there we found that I discussed about neuroplasticity of the brain, but the 5 principles that I talked about, what I realized that, for example, vitamin and mineral deficiencies, we have diagnostics, but typically doctors do not prescribe this. It is not a standard part of our medical thing. So we are only prescribed those things which have been done traditionally for a long time. Although today technology has advanced to the extent that this test can be done at a cheaper cost. So we need to have the scientific way of monitoring these. So whether it's vitamin mineral deficiency, there are 2 ways, or maybe there are more ways. One is, of course, through blood tests, but apparently hair analysis is giving even better results of wider spectrum of vitamin minerals that deficiency may be there. I think in India also it is starting to become possible now. There are companies, US also it is possible. Similarly, looking at gut permeability, there are techniques which are not easily available to common person, which will allow you to understand the gut permeability. We are trying to develop it in our university also to make sure that we can take it forward to make it available to larger number of people. Similarly, the gut microbes also today it has become possible to actually analyze the gut microbes and then whether we have the right combination of good, bad, and neutral microbes inside our body. for example, it is well understood that if I take certain medicines like antibiotics and so on, it probably kills large number of microbes. And there's dysbiosis that happens in our body. This can lead to many issues. Even, for example, childbirth time, cesarean section, actually, the microbes are not initiated, and what is understood that this leads to lack of immunity in the children. Even breastfeeding is very important from this point of view. So gut microbes playing important, but today the diagnostics that can help us in doing this analysis of vitamin mineral deficiencies in gut permeability and gut microbes. And then the whole process of internal hygiene, which I found that everybody who approached me for whatever reason, I told them just make sure that you clean your inner organs, and you have to keep it clean. So you have to repeat it a few times and do the maintenance at periodic intervals. And then you come back to me, and if you see some problems still pending. So that is very important to make sure that the body organs are performing the way they should be performing. Because, and this has happened, it's become necessary, like maybe 5,000 years back, we're not cleaning our teeth, but today we do that. And so we need to make sure that we keep our internal organs clean. And neuroplasticity in certain cases is very important, where I have found that, these two are integrated also. Sometimes I've found that if I make sure that, for example, magnesium seems to play a very important role in our sleep. Not only sleep, or skin problem, or hair loss problem, and so on, and many other conditions. So what I used to do earlier, that if somebody has a sleep problem, I used to suggest a particular sound wave, which nowadays through computer we can produce that easily. And that would help them in sleeping. But today, when I'm finding that if magnesium supplements are there, you apply to your skin before sleeping, and it helps us in deep sleep as well. So neuroplasticity was a quick solution for certain cases. Now I'm finding that certain cases I can actually do a better thing, that is making sure that deficiencies that are there are taken care. But some cases I've found that when a child has learning disability, I can actually use neuroplasticity. So we make them listen to certain sound when they're studying, and we find that the learning improves tremendously. So both, all of these together actually form my thought of what you call it integrated wellness. And I'm trying to see that can we together develop certain well-established protocols backed by scientific evidence to make sure that it is not my personal choice, but we understood each other in what case what needs to be done. And that's where I'm very happy to be on this platform and discuss this. And my university is working on this. Fortunately, a group of investors based out of Silicon Valley, who I would like to in particular mention Dr. Akash Singh, the inventor as well as investor himself. He was in touch with me for some time. He's working, he has a number of R&D centers in India actually, working on biological side as well as other sites. And recently he suggested that he will support me in my nuclear fusion effort. And so we have gone ahead. And he also said that my thought on chronic health problems will also support that. So this has given a big boost to our thought process. So now we are actually accelerating this. I'd also like to mention Dr. Suresh Patankar. I think he's probably present in the audience. He is a well-known urologist, but also an Ayurveda expert and yoga expert. He runs a hospital in Pune, and he is involved with many government committees, highest level. He is also our collaborator in this process. He is also very open-minded, and maybe sometime we should have him give his thought. So at the age of 70, he is actually doing a PhD in yoga. And so we have people joining together who actually believe in this, and backed with scientific evidence. Some of the research work we are doing and others are doing also. We are participating in this process, and we are trying to make sure that we can develop protocols which will help us in diagnosing this. And some of our ancient learning, even mantras, meditation, yoga, all of these, I think we can probably understand on the scientific basis. And that's where the role of science is going to be very important.
That's great to listen from you as a vice chancellor. You feel all these methods which can bring wellness should all be evidence-based. More and more studies should be conducted, And also thank you for introducing Dr. Suresh and his interest in this integrated approach for wellness. We'll definitely contact him, and we're very happy and impressed to listen from you. More and more studies we should have, which will give evidence to integrate all those things which can provide wellness. So, do you think there are any possibilities that we look forward for some national programs in future based on your experience?
So one major change that I've been talking about for last few years, because I was in Delhi at the national policy level making, so I got a lot of opportunity to discuss this, is our medical education itself. And where actually what we find is that we, before the student joins the medical college, they have to choose which particular pathy they would go into that, without having the knowledge of what is required, what is meant with this. And so I have been promoting integrated medical education. And what I'm saying is that when you join medical system, it should be to first, the healthcare is the most important part. And then initially everybody should learn common set of things. I don't think we have differences on anatomy and a few other things. A lot of medical diagnostics are used by all of us. There's no controversy about that. And then everybody should learn a little bit about all other pathies, and then they can specialize in their own fields. What I've noticed is that the government systems, we have promoted integrated medical practices, but what it means is that the same hospital, you have different departments. So you would have allopathy department, Ayurveda department, homeopathy department, and the patient chooses to go to which particular one they like. But my philosophy is something else. What I'm saying is that if I approach a doctor, the doctor should be in a position to advise me that which is the best pathy for me to go, and they should be to prescribe that, okay, you can go to say Ayurveda doctor or a homeopath doctor. Right now, our medical system does not permit this. So this is not integrated. It's only integrating the disciplines under the same building, but not not in some sense logically integrating them. And this is what both at the medical education level as well as in terms of the way we look at this, very important, that change is required. In terms of my campus, I don't have a medical college in my campus, but I have pharmacy college, I have bioengineering and others. We are trying to work together on many of these problems, starting from agricultural stage itself to the healthcare stage, and making sure that we put this in mind of people is that we should not wait to fall sick and then go and approach doctor. Our healthcare starts is something that is important every single day. Our lifestyle, our food habit, all that we need to understand, and we should not wait for things to go wrong before we approach a medical system. Yeah, I think I'll stop at this.
So that's great. Again, we should have all the departments in one campus. That's fine. But until unless you have people who have that integrated approach, who love to have that integrated approach, who really focuses on patient-centric approach. So once we do that, then only we will be really able to help the patient, and it will be an integrated approach for the wellness. So why I feel more and more such discussions where we understand with each other based on each other's experience and learning, and that will promote the message of integrated approach. And out of that, people will come who will start practicing integrated approach for wellness. That was a great suggestion from you. Now I request Dr. Sushil Sharma, based on his experience working as an interventional cardiologist, also a wellness coach, and his own experience, have a discussion with Prabhat Ranjanji. His work in USA, his research-based work in USA, his experience that he has seen in the universities there, and have a discussion with our special guest, Prabhat Ranjanji. Over to Sushil.
Thank you, Swamiji. Prabhatji, thank you very much for sharing so many concepts with us. Actually, I am more interested in learning from you two specific aspects, and I think that some of the people listening also may be interested. Please tell us the specific practices that you performed for treating your gallstones and your psoriasis, and also, if time permits, share with us the protocol that you suggest or follow for gut cleaning and improving the health of the gut microbiota.
Okay. All right. For viewers, I would like to mention that I have written blogs on these in detail, but I'll very briefly describe the process. What I call internal cleanse or internal hygiene of cleansing of liver, gallstone, and so on. It's based on Ayurvedic practices, but as mentioned, Andreas Morris actually westernized this for convenience of people in US, and made certain changes in that. He also worked for 45 years in improving things, and he has shared a lot of. Unfortunately, he's no more. We lost him a few years ago. So what we do in this is that you actually have to take a lot of apple juice, which has malic acid component. So almost 5 days, you take 1 liter apple juice in empty stomach throughout the day, very slowly. And the malic acid component that actually prepares our gallstones, if they are there, it softens the edges of the gallstones and so on, because sometimes there are sharp edges in those. And similarly, it also talks about liver and areas where it helps in certain blockages. I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know the technical details there. His book describes a lot of these things, and then I have discussed medical professionals, they also agreed to this. So 5 days, so you start from Monday to Friday, you take 1 liter apple juice in empty stomach, and during this process, you avoid cold and processed food and non-vegetarian food, and also to avoid any medical medicines which may not be essential, so to avoid as much as possible. On the 6th day, so if you start on Monday, the 6th day, that is Saturday, actually you start by skipping breakfast and taking 1 liter apple juice again in 2 to 3 hours time. You have to sip it very slowly, like you take tea. So you should not gulp it, and all of these you have to do it slowly in empty stomach. And then at lunchtime around 1:30, you take plain basmati rice, no protein or no fat to be taken, and with some steamed or boiled vegetables. And along with that, you can mix a little bit of rock salt. This is the only lunch you have. And then after that lunch around 1:30, you actually take nothing except water, no other food items to be taken. And then around 6 p.m. in the evening, it suggests to take Epsom salt drink, which is magnesium sulfate. And that is laxative. And it dilates the common bile duct. So actually you prepare, what you do is that you prepare the first inside the gallbladder and liver, you prepare through the malic acid, then the Epsom salt drink, and you make sure that you're not taking any items like fat and so on, so that your gallbladder is full of bile juice. And the Epsom salt drink that you take at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., I've given the details in my blog, and also the book of Andreas Morris, of course, is there. It dilates the common bile duct. And then at 10 p.m., you drink a mixture of half cup olive oil, which actually in Ayurveda, ghee is suggested. And that is mixed with orange and fresh lemon juice, which you mix that, so it becomes easy to drink. So if you want to take half cup olive oil, it's very difficult to take it as it is. But when you mix with that, it becomes easy to take. You would gulp that at a go and lie down on the bed for about 20 minutes without any movement. You have to keep your head above by putting 2 pillows, so your head is above your stomach. And wait for 20 minutes without any motion, without any disturbance. In fact, they ask you that you focus, close your eyes, focus in your stomach area. You will feel something happening. And then you sleep after that. In the morning, that is 7 days, say Sunday, you get up in the morning, 6 a.m., you take the third glass of Epsom salt, and then 8 a.m., fourth glass of Epsom salt. And after 8 a.m., from 10 a.m. onwards, you can start to have fresh fruit juice, light lunch, and so on. Sometimes you start to have loose motion. And then the from inside, a lot of kachra, a lot of things you will see start coming out through stool. You'll notice this. And in this process itself, what happens is that the gallstones, and because you've taken a lot of fat, it tries to compact itself to inject bile juice to digest that. In that process, the stones may come out. It's not essential. There's no guarantee that come out the very first time you do it. And of course, there's a lot of mix of them. Sometimes people have a lot of stones, so you might see the small ones come out first. And so you may find that the stones come out, and because you have dilated the common bile duct, it does not get stuck, and then it goes out through our excretory system. So you have to actually, you will find immediate benefits sometimes. Certain things start to happen. For example, you start to lose weight, you start to see your skin glowing. And if stones are there, it may come out in the very first attempt, or it may not come out. You have to repeat it at 4 weeks interval till you find that though 2 successive cleans has nothing coming out in your stool, you notice nothing coming out. That means your thing has been cleaned. This should be done. It should be noticed 2 times in succession. Sometimes you may find that first time it doesn't come out, but next time it comes out. You make sure that you repeat it as many times as needed. And then it suggests that every 6 to 8 months, you kind of do this repeat process so that you can maintain your internal hygiene. And through this process, actually, you can basically, and this is only cleaning of liver and gallbladder. In parallel, you clean the kidney, and there are 2, 3 ways. One of the simplest ways is to take coriander leaves and make extract out of that, and use that to cleanse the kidney. And then for colon cleanse, actually there are ways, but best way, in fact, that I've done in Dr. Patankar's hospital itself is the colon cleanse system, so colonics as it is called in US. He has the system, so I went through that process where actually mechanical form, automatic form of enema that is practiced. And that actually cleans in about 45 minutes to 1 hour, it cleanses your colon. And in that process, if there's plaque formation, also it tries to clean. So that is a process of liver cleanse, that technique or internal hygiene that I have practiced, and a lot of people have benefited from them. The second one of the psoriasis and the skin problem, we had been told that certain food items need to be avoided. And these are called nightshade vegetables: tomato, potato, capsicum, and so on. Brinjal especially also. I tried these things, but it was not enough. So in this particular thing, what the protocol involved that also, but we were asked to avoid all dairy products. And then use high dose vitamin D3 in 20,000 to 30,000 IU. Actually, it depends. There is a scientific way to decide how much to take. And use magnesium supplement. So you use magnesium oil, which is very cheaply available. You can buy magnesium chloride flakes, mix it with hot water to prepare the magnesium oil. Otherwise, one can also buy magnesium oil. And then you apply that. Your skin normally suggested to apply all over your body twice. Once in the morning, leave it for 20 minutes, and then take bath, and once in the evening. And then you find that transdermal absorption of magnesium is very good. And so high dose vitamin D3, magnesium supplement, and certain food items to be avoided during this process. And you start to see magic happening. And typically it takes 6 to 8 weeks, but sometimes you might continue for a longer time.
Would you also tell us something about how to improve the health of the gut microbes and get healthy gut microbes?
So the gut microbes and the gut permeability are somewhat interlinked. So sometimes it is suggested that you could use, you can balance your microbes, so they will start to repair the gut permeability itself also to take care. So if I look at gut permeability itself, as I mentioned, it could be impermeable through plaque formation, which leads to poor absorption. So the colonics actually helps in that process. I have gone through various literature trying to find out what is the best way to repair the gut if it becomes permeable or leaky gut. There are, I believe, things like L-glutamine and so on that help in repairing this in a fast way, but there are 4 or 5 different ways of doing this. What my understanding, the L-glutamine is the best way to repair it fast. But even certain probiotics and so on will help in this by introducing certain microbes inside our body. That also helps. Process may be slow or fast, but what is important is that if I can do the analysis of my gut microbes And if we see something lacking there, either too many of the bad microbes, as I would call it, are present there, we need to balance that dysbiosis that has happened, and by certain probiotics and other things, we can actually try to balance that through certain food items, dietary changes. Also, we can do this. Exactly how to relate this, I'm not sure at this stage, but basically, I understand that we should be able to make the diagnostics, which will tell us what is the condition of gut microbes. And then intervention can take many forms. Right now, I'm not very clear as to what will be the best way. It will depend on a lot more work has to be done. Of course, literature is full of many of these.
Thank you very much. That was interesting to learn from your experience. And when you integrate all this together with the specific practice in specific areas that you mentioned, because I'm sure in your mind, you're a scientist, you always bring different areas of the mind work together. So at some point, do you have in mind like connecting these, which now seem like 5 different diverse concepts that you mentioned? You must be going through something in your mind as to, is there a connecting point where you mentioned the deficiency of certain vitamins and minerals, and then you mentioned neuroplasticity at the other extreme. So from the soil to the plate, from the plate to the gut, from the gut to absorption, absorption to elimination, elimination to excretion, and then going to your brain. Looks like you're making a connection somewhere. I think you're going to probably in future, you're going to integrate all that.
Yes, it is there in my mind. It's not very clear, but as we discuss and probably it will start to become more and more clear. As I said that looking at gut permeability, there's a diagnostics that can be done. It's not very popular. It is in the research labs. So in my university, I'm trying to develop that so that we can take it to larger scale. So we can do this diagnostics. Similarly, for the gut microbes, also tests are available now. In US, it is available. In India also, it is starting to become just too costly. So again, we are trying to do research work to try to make sure that. So my first thing is getting the scientific data on a person. So when we talk of personalized medicine, we have practiced this for a long time through our traditional means. But there we have gone through, we asked a lot of questions to people. There are various things. In Ayurveda, we have concept of Prakriti and so on. But I feel that if scientifically we can actually look at each individual through the diagnostic, we should be able to actually have a very detailed information about that person's condition. Even in twins, we will find that gut microbes will vary tremendously. It will vary from us from time to time. So normally it was considered that genetic factors are important for personalized medicine, but apparently it doesn't explain everything. So gut microbes are starting to play a very important role. And there's linkage of that with our Ayurvedic practices. If I go through Wagbhart's book, Astanga Hridayam and so on, a lot of things that are mentioned, which I've come through. Andreas Mauriz's book, Timeless Secrets. I have not gone through the original document. I found that it's actually starting to understand this scientifically. Then all of this start to make sense. I'll just make one point. In fact, somebody is asking about explaining neuroplasticity. Let me just mention that quickly. Again, I'm not an expert. The Dalai Lama has been focusing on this for a long time. He has been holding international conferences. I've been in touch with his group also, and they have been wanting me to support in trying to scientifically validate some of the practices that they have in their system through science. Neuroplasticity actually is something which was not accepted by Western medical practitioners till about 3 to 4 decades ago. But Eastern science, we have always believed in neuroplasticity. We know that by certain practices, we can improve ourselves. And that's where many practices that we have done is actually improving the brain. So brain is a dynamic system in some sense, unlike what was believed in Western science till 3 to 4 decades ago. In fact, a neuroplastic expert from University of California, San Francisco Medical Science campus, he mentioned that 30, 40 years ago, if I talked about it, people would think I'm a mad person. But now it is starting to believe that actually can influence the brain. And a simple way to do that, I'll explain this, is that, for example, normally we have various brain waves starting from very low frequency. You have alpha, beta, theta, delta. And there are gamma waves. Gamma waves are the highest frequency stages going above 30 hertz or so, which a normal untrained person cannot produce. But typically Buddhist monks who are actually made to practice, they are able to produce that stage of mind. And my personal belief is that Buddha, when he attained enlightenment, he actually developed the means to go to that stage of gamma wave, which made him learn things much better than others. So normally, when our brain is processing at the highest level, it is in the beta wave phase, and there's beta 1 and beta 2 part of that. When you go above that, your brain is processing even faster. So enlightenment of Buddha, to me, it meant that his learning became much better. He started to see things which a common person could not see. So neuroplasticity is something that we believed in our Eastern thought process for thousands of years. Western science has only started to believe now. What we notice is that brain starts to respond to certain external stimuli that can happen through sound wave or through visual means. And we use a technique of beat wave. So you give frequencies in 2 years separately. So for example, you put 500 hertz in 1 year and 510 hertz in another year. The difference, the 10 hertz, the brain will respond to that 10 hertz. So over 7 to 8 minutes time it takes for it to respond. It's not a very fast process. And then you will start to produce more and more of the 10 hertz frequency. So if I need to put somebody to sleep, I focus on delta waves, so 0.5 hertz to 4 hertz range, and then I can put somebody to a deep sleep. And so there's sound waves that one can produce. There are websites, actually you can go and create own, or the ready-mades. I have tried few of them. I share with both people who want to go into deep sleep. Sometimes with migraine issues, they get help. And also to help children who have learning problem, I have found that by certain waves where you can reduce the noise in the brain, improve the processing capability, it starts to help children to learn much better. So that is neuroplasticity is a very important concept by itself. But I found that if by doing detoxification of our inner organs, it also helps in this process. Sometime while I started neuroplasticity, later on I have a better effect where I can do the internal clean and I find the things start to improve by itself. So I don't have to do this use the sound waves and so on. So both of these can be integrated properly. And my goal is to actually realize the maximum potential of each human's brain by doing whatever is needed for that purpose. I'm not sure I've answered the question that you asked. I might
You did that beautifully, but I would just like to add here two beautiful concepts that you touched upon, the neuroplasticity, and now we are moving from genetics to epigenetics. So in fact, if you look at epigenetic advantage and you look at the neuroplasticity advantage, from listeners' point of view and find my point of view, I think there is one technique which really improves both, strengthens your epigenetics and strengthens your neuroplasticity by changing environment, and we use the term sanskaras. Meditation to me is the best technique that can influence the neuroplasticity positively and also change your epigenetics. And through these two beautiful mechanisms that so nicely you discussed, gives you tremendous health benefits. So I think that we should be looking in future at modifying these two once we have parameters of measurement for epigenetics and neuroplasticity, how meditation helps us improve epigenetics, neuroplasticity, our genetic makeup, our genetic expression, and overall contributes to wellness and health. So that was very nice to have this discussion with you, and I hope that we have an opportunity to take it forward and collaborate at certain levels through CeRIMed and IWSP. That was a great discussion. Thank you.
I just wanted to add one more thing, and that is that what I have in mind is that to have a chain of health resorts which will look at chronic health problem. It will be something that people will go and enjoy. It's not something like hospital, and the proper integrated environment is there where we carry out medical diagnosis even before they have arrived at the place. They spend time that is needed 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Because what we find is that when you suggest to somebody, they're in home, they're busy with their life, they forget to put things in the right way. So they have to learn to do this thing properly in an enjoyable way. And that's where already we have a number of setup across the country. We can add some of these thought processes there and have, make start that thing, and that's what my thought is right now. And we would hope that through our effort we can do this exercise. I'm in touch with some people in trying to bring this in as our diagnostics develop, and then we can have a little bit better understanding of what interventions to be done. And one more point I'd mention is that Dalai Lama, as you rightly said about meditation, he wanted me to help with certain things which they are still guarding secrets, their thing. And he said that, in fact, his statement always had been that I'm first a scientist and then a Buddhist. And so he says that if we can use science to validate these practices that we have been following for thousands of years, then I will open it up to public. So I have support from that team that they said that they have trained monks actually doing this. And so if we want to use that workforce people, then we can try to use these modern techniques to validate this. And that will be very important input to this. I would also like to mention that the very first time I was giving talk on my thoughts related to these in a 2012 event, or was it 2011 probably, there was an international delegate and a gentleman who was considered super genius. Unfortunately, we lost him. He came to me after that. We had about half an hour discussion. He said that in Russia, they have done a lot of work on meditation. And he has a lot of data. And then we can try to look at that. So outside country, also there's a lot of data that we collected on meditation and yoga and so on. And we need to actually believe in our own traditional knowledge. And sometime I mentioned this, that until yoga became yoga, we didn't believe in it. So, we need to believe in ourselves, our traditional knowledge, and scientifically validate them, bring it to attention of people. Sometime when I've talked to Ayurveda doctors, so when we ask them that why are you suggesting certain things, they only recite a sloka. They don't explain the science behind it. We need to make that change so that people start to believe more and more in this on a scientific basis. That's my goal.
That's so nice.
Yes.
Finally, it reminds me the statement of Swami Vivekananda. Faith in oneself and faith in God. That is the secret of success. So secret of success depends on our belief, faith in our ancient wisdom. Along with that, what we need to develop is that scientific eye to see it, validate it. That is what integrated wellness means for all of us who have joined this forum. I'm sure the audience who have joined have really enjoyed this talk, conversation. We keep going forward. Please join us for our next talks on integrated approach for wellness. Over to Anirban.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, Dr. Sushil, and thank you above all our guest who has left a very deep impression on all of us. And I'm sure that this talk, look-wise, it feels as if that this is going to go a long way because you are passionate and we are also equally passionate. So I think we can join forces, and there could be a lot of things which can be done together. And as we were talking about collaboration and working together, I think this mixed bag of people, professionals, engineers, scientists, doctors, surgeons, this is an amazing integration which it's in itself is going to create these new avenues which we have been talking about all this while. And so we echo everything, every word of what Professor you said, and I'm sure we're going to take this forward. And let's look forward to subsequent interactions, and let's look forward to great sessions ahead. I will just take 2 lines from Dr. Subrata because he lost out in the initial stage because his connection went off. So, Doctor, please kindly, if I can
Yes.
request you to speak those 2 lines, and then we'll close the session.
Thank you very much, Anirban. Yes, technologies, we are getting so much dependent. It runs on technology now. At the same time, we see technology is not this end all, but at the same time, we are using it to get maximum benefit. I'm really thankful to Professor Prabhat Ranjan for a wonderful sharing of his thoughts. And CeRIMed is just an infant. We started not even a year back. And I see a great opportunity for both of us and with you to interact and go forward. So with these few words, I'll tell my conclusions that we learned a lot. We should look forward to go ahead and proceed further. Thank you. Thank you very much to all the participants and the facilitators. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you.